But first things first, my friend, let's find out who is going to be the winner of this match, who will proceed through this lower bracket to face the final boss in Gab Nassif, who's waiting in the wings. Take a look at this opening hand here. 2 Uro, 2 Nissa. You kind of like to see it, but would like to have a little bit of something else to do. Maybe another growth spiral, perhaps.
Yeah, and you saw Seth win the die roll there, but since we are in seeded play, Ken gets to go first. I think that's a reasonable hand if you're on the play, but on the draw, I agree with Seth. It's a little bit too slow.
Opts to go for the mulligan, finds an Ether Gust, Disdainful Stroke, Thoughtseize, and Uro, Tights on Nature's Wrath. In the second hand, we'll have to send one of these back. What do you think about this hand, Corey?
Yeah, I think this one's perfectly fine. Seth and Brad Nelson, everybody else who worked on Sultai here, had this matchup in mind, and you notice by a lot of the card choices that are even in Seth's hand, they're very good against the powerful Muxus.
Speaking of Muxus, 2 answers in hand to that Muxus, being Ether Gust and Disdainful Stroke. Is that potentially one of the cards he's going to send back here?
It's tough because you definitely want to keep one of those, and Thoughtseize to get some information on your opponent's hand is great, and Uro is your only ramp card. So I think Uro, the 3 lands, those are the auto keeps in your hand here. I think it's between Thoughtseize and Aether Gust would be my guess, but maybe Seth is going to value Disdainful Stroke more here. But regardless, especially against the version that Ken is playing with the ramp spell, these Disdainful Strokes and Aether Gust are so effective because you kind of get a nice 2-for-1 because you just hit the Muxus instead of the Ice Crag Feet.
All right,
Ice Crag Feet, excuse me. Yep.
Iron Crag Feet.
Yeah,
we'll get that eventually. We'll get that eventually, Corey.
Yes.
As we get things underway here, setting up quite nicely is Ken Yukuhiro, Wily Goblin. We're going to be able to get Iron Crag Feet going on turn 3 here, but unfortunately no Muxus to follow up just yet. Perhaps we will see one drawn off the top of the library, but for now, looks like Seth Manfield's deciding, do I want to get my ramp going, Ether Gust potentially, or do I want to Thoughtseize something out of hand?
So here's what Seth is really thinking. It's do I want to Aether Gust anything next turn? And if you don't, you kind of want to Thoughtseize. But with the way Uro works here, you get to put that 4th land into play, and it's such a nice sequence to go Uro into Thoughtseize. So I like holding up on the Thoughtseize to just get a little bit more information as well. That's one extra card that Ken Yukuhiro is going to draw, and a little bit more info that you're going to be able to see.
Yeah, and if this sequence is how Seth Manfield's hoping, he'll be able to Uro and then able to Thoughtseize immediately once Goblin Matron has hit the battlefield and searched up, we assume, Muxus, because what else would you pick, right?
I haven't seen anything else picked so far, Alias, so...
So it goes for the tempo play there, Ether Gusting away that Goblin Matron, and Ken Yukuhiro keeps it on top, definitely wants to get that down to find Muxus, as Uro Titan of Nature's Wrath makes his way onto the battlefield.
I like this sequence here because now Seth gets to Thoughtseize with perfect information. If that Goblin Matron is on top of the battlefield, you just know what Ken is going to draw next turn, and you know what card you need to take as the most powerful spell if you're Seth Manfield.
Rightly so, just deciding if he wants to fire it off now, sends it straight back. Are we going to see a second Goblin Matron here?
I think the interesting thing here is that Seth chose to not Thoughtseize, which is pretty spicy. What's going through Seth's mind is Ken's best play last turn was to just play Goblin Matron. So why wouldn't it be that again? And if that's the case, you would think you would rather just Thoughtseize whatever Ken would search up. So really next level play by the Hall of Famer here.
Yep, deciding to wait the turn. Finds the Muxus, does Ken Yukuhiro, and now with perfect information, Seth Manfield can go and rip apart that hand, see what else he has to deal with, and keep his ramp going, now with Growth Spiral available to him as well.
For sure, and now Seth does have a nice little value turn here of being able to go Uro, put that extra land into play, Growth Spiral. If you hit a land, great. If not, no big deal, and Thoughtseize, so kind of gets to just drain his whole hand here.
You know, we do like card advantage, though, but when you're able to play a bunch of powerful spells back-to-back, I don't think you're going to say no to that.
That's true. That's true.
Uro Titan Nature's Wrath coming on down, Zagoth Triumph being left up. Let's see what we draw. We can get another land down in the battlefield. It's all pretty gross when Growth Spiral and Uro get going. Ooh, Maelstrom Pulse off the top of the library. That'll come in handy later.
And I believe that is the one of that Seth decided to play. Just another really great powerful card that when you're in an open deck list tournament, that it is something people always have to be aware of that you can do.
Oh, now Ken Yukuhiro is putting his foot down, dumps that Goblin Chieftain as Kirk Prospector down, coming in for 8 there. Down to 14 goes Seth Manfield. Finds an eliminate off the top of the library. No matching goblins, though, for Maelstrom Pulse to be effective, but we can escape this Uro from the library and keep up one of those spells.
Agreed. You see the magical blue tint around the Uro, which is every Sultai player's dream. Which means you get to bring back Uro here. Normally, this is a pretty nice battlefield here for Ken when you're trying to play this. Plan B, I would say, because Muxus is definitely plan A. But this is a nice way to just attack your opponent's life total whenever you don't have access to the insanely powerful 6-drop.
Right, now I want to ask you, Corey, there's 2 pretty juicy targets on that battlefield for an eliminate. Who gets got first? Is it going to be Goblin Chieftain or Skirk Prospector?
So Seth does still have perfect information here, knows that the mana is... Ken Yukuhiro can't really do anything with that excess red mana that Skirk Prospector brings. So I think what you do here is just wait to see what Ken plays. And then if, let's say Ken is about to play a Krenko, then you kill Chieftain so that that activation doesn't get used. But if you were... let's say looking at 2 unknown cards from Ken, I think you're priced into dealing with Skirk Prospector just to hope they don't have Muxus in hand. But here I think you can just safely wait.
And wait he does, as we now see deliberations from Ken Yukuhiro's side. Ironcrag Feet in hand, not something you want to cast without Muxus. Finds a second Goblin Chieftain as well as a Chain Whirler, which, he's effective, but up against a 6/6, not so much.
And mostly up against Sultai, it really doesn't ever kill anything. It's just 3 mana, 3/3, great first striker, deal 1 damage to planeswalkers and stuff. Not very good. I would assume that's a card that Ken takes out in this matchup.
Yeah, for sure. Goblins is great in the mirror match, but certainly not going to be super impactful here, especially with Uro down on the battlefield and a plethora of removal spells in Seth's deck. He's just waiting to draw it, though.
Agreed. And I want to go back to something you said a little earlier, Alias. One really nice thing that I've seen from Seth from watching him, in his career years past and just in this tournament specifically, the patience he has to wait for your opponent to attack. And then we've seen him just blow out players by killing a key creature and then getting a nice block that he wanted to, let's say, save Nissa, save his own life total, something like this. Values destroying the Chieftain enough here just to stop Chain Whirler from attacking, though. Yeah,
and then leaving Ken with just a bunch of 1/1s, which don't really do too much to this life total, especially considering Uro can now just swing in and attack, which looks like he's going to go for. We can kill this Uro if Ken decides to. So it'll be interesting to see if he goes for that or if he's happy to just let this Titan run rampant.
And basically all that's missing from Seth's gameplay right now to almost lock it up. We're very early in the game, so locking it up seems like a weird thing to say. But if we have something like Aether Gust or Disdainful Stroke to guarantee that Muxus is not going to hit the battlefield, that's really all Seth needs here. So you even see him leaving 2 mana open, or at least considering it for now, because if he does indeed get one of these powerful 2 mana blue spells, it feels very tough for Ken to win.
Yeah, it does. So certainly that's the thought going through his mind is like, okay, I can make a Crisis, I can draw a couple cards, and I have to leave up, or I would prefer to leave up the 2 mana, because we've seen an insane amount of power hit the battlefield if there is a Muxus resolved, especially if there's haste and a Krenko, for example. Like, you can have some absolutely nutty draws with that powerful 6-drop. So it'll be interesting to see what he goes for here.
And unfortunately, the last Muxus that we have seen together was yesterday by Ken, and it hit 0 goblins. 0. None. Yeah. Absolutely 0. And honestly, that's a little bit of the reason why Ken is in the lowers already. That was such a big hit that, if he hit a reasonable amount of goblins, he was going to win that game, at least move on to game 3 to be able to advance through his quarterfinals.
Yeah, that was super unlucky. And Seth Manfield just, saying, all right, screw it, let's go for it. I'm going to make a 6/6. I'm going to draw 3 cards, finds Eliminate, a Triumph, and a Hydroid Crisis off the top of the library. So now we're going to have an army of big old jellyfish. And I kind of like the look of that, because if he just keeps dumping these creatures down, Ken Yukuhiro is going to be super dead super quick.
Agreed. And the thing I love the most about this is if Seth did go for this kind of value Krasis as a 4/4, then all of a sudden, if you play a Goblin Chieftain or something, then that Chain Whirler can just first strike right through the Krasis, and then you really have to hope you draw something. He would have drawn Eliminate, though, so maybe it would have worked out a little bit better for Seth, but still a very strong draw for Seth.
So Ironcrag Feet being used here just to provide the extra mana to get down this Chieftain and be able to pump up the team. Getting in there for a bunch of damage, down to 8 goes Seth Manfield, but still with a big old Krasis or 2 waiting in the wings. You gotta think he's still okay for now.
Or 3 if Seth is feeling real crazy and wants to start putting 2/2 Jellyfish out here. Probably won't be seeing that.
No, probably not. But you mean to say real crazy, right? Not real crazy. I'm bringing the dad jokes today, Corey. What you got to say about that?
We've been hanging out too long, I guess. I think my bad jokes are spreading to you.
They are. What else is spreading is good old Uro Saito Nature's Wrath, as we pick up another one here from the top of the library there for Seth Manfield. So might be tempted to get that down. Pad the whole life total once again. I don't think he's got enough to escape the second copy, but first things first, let's Maelstrom Pulse something away, and then we'll decide what we're doing next.
Absolutely, and I love Seth leaving back the 6/6 Krasis, just recognizing, this game is going to be over no matter what here very shortly, as long as Ken, doesn't go wide on him here. So there's no point in attacking with anything that doesn't draw you that extra card. And really, once again, I'll stress it again, what Seth is trying to do is just find one of these Aether Gusts or Disdainful Strokes to really lock this one up. Wow, did I? I guess we will see 2/2 Krasis. I was completely kidding. I did not expect to see that at all.
Well, maybe he heard you. Who knows? But first things first, we're going to eliminate here. Get rid of the Skirk Prospector. There's enough men on the battlefield to cost the Muxus, so we're going to have to hope that Seth doesn't get got here by that powerful 6-drop.
Or is Seth going to really do the next level play of Maelstrom pulsing this treasure token to make sure Muxus is not a possibility? I think he might be, because then Seth is just thinking, okay, what draws actually kill me that are non-Muxus? And I know he's doing Kranko math right now, because that seems like the scariest card to me. But even Kranko just adds 4 creatures, which is 8 power. So then we have 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. 12 attackers, and we still have 2 blockers. So I think the auto-win play here is Maelstrom pulsing this treasure, having 8 power of flyers, and just finishing it off here. A masterclass play by Seth. This is unreal.
Well spotted there, Corey. In response, we can sacrifice that, but it doesn't really do too much there for Ken Yukuhiro, as now any Muxus off the top of the library is off the table. What do we draw? It's Muxus! What?
Oh my God.
Oh my goodness me. Corey, you are a fortune teller, because that is just insane. I hope these two talk about that draw afterwards, because that is incredible.
Oh my God. If I was down there playing that match, I would have done a nice, Uro. I would have played a pretty big Krasis, and I probably would have lost to that Muxus that next turn.
Man, unbelievable. You know what? I never do this in paper normally, but I would have so looked at the top 6 cards of my library just to see what would have popped out there, because that is insane.
Arena's just really doing you a big favor, Alias, and not allowing you to do that. That's saving you a lot of sweat. But wow, I cannot stress enough what a master play that was from Seth. You do not think to Maelstrom Pulse a treasure that is completely useless. But Seth just found a line that guaranteed that Muxus couldn't be cast. And I want to go back to Ken's last turn. Ken used the Icecrag Feet there to be able to play a creature and activate that castle. And if he just played Goblin Chieftain and attacked, Seth was going to essentially gain 4 life, because that's the extra damage that got through. But Icecrag Feet would have allowed Muxus to come into play. So maybe a little bit of a misstep on Ken's part, but once again, probably did not expect his treasure token to get Maelstrom pulsed.
Yeah, super next level. Big brain play there from Seth Manfield, just showing why he's one of the world's greatest, as we get underway here with game number 2 in this lower round. Oh man, all right, we're still reeling from that, but we have another game afoot here as we start things off with Breeding Pool Mountain for both players. Turn 2, Conspicuous Snoop, and we've got Nissa Who Shakes the World off the top of the library for Seth Manfield.
Okay, and one of my favorite sequences from the Sultai deck is just being able to Growth Spiral into Thoughtseize, and Seth has another Thoughtseize, so this is starting off quite great for Seth.
Yeah, things looking pretty good here. Able to take a look in the hand and dispatch of one of these threats, either Snoop or the Chieftain, or Krenko, who's not going to be too much of a pain in the butt just yet. Chieftain, perhaps?
I think so here, or you take the Snoop and then you eliminate the other one to stop that card advantage. I kind of like that because then you can... Oh, he doesn't have double black here available. That is a Fetid pool, not another Drowned Catacombs. So that is the tough part, is figuring out what you're going to do next turn with only one black source. Decides to take the Snoop, and I'm guessing will mean eliminating the other one. But we will see.
Snoop is doing its job, though, finding those goblins off the top of the library and just being able to get them onto the battlefield ASAP.
Languish. Oh, and hit Krenko, too. I didn't even see that on top. Wow. Just get some free goblins. Gotta love that.
Yeah, free goblins are always fun. They're gonna get dead to Languish eventually. Next turn is gonna hurt for Seth. There's no two ways around that, really, with the Goblin Chieftain coming down.
Yep, for sure. And Seth knows about it. So here's the thing.
Wait, how much does that hurt?
It hurts a lot because you can, on your upkeep, activate Krenko to be able to put a bunch more zombies into play, or a bunch more goblins into play. Sorry, I was trying to do the math there. I like Seth's play here. It looks like he's just trying to eliminate the Chieftain when it comes into play and then Wrath.
But that makes way more sense.
What I was going to say is normally in these situations against a normal aggressive deck, you want to Thoughtseize them and make sure there's nothing too crazy that's going to intercept your Languish plan. And then just Languish the next turn. But Goblin is such a dynamic deck that it makes sense that you have to leave it open to kill the Chieftain here.
Yeah, and not going for the Chieftain play here at all. Just saying, okay, you know what, this is fine. Yeah, I'm just gonna chip away at your life total. You don't worry about what's in my hand. You don't have to waste any removal spells. But this Languish is gonna hurt.
Exactly, and I think the main reason why Ken did that is just for the sense that he did not want to draw that wily Goblin, and wanted to just play it so that hopefully he can draw land next turn if and when inevitably he loses his board. Because even Languish of course destroys everything, but Extinction Event destroys everything as well here. They are all even.
Have to pay respects to those poor little gobbos, as now we're going to rebuild here for Ken Yukuhiro with Goblin Ringleader, like you said, being quite an important card in these matchups, just being able to refuel. Doesn't hit too much there, but Krenko, man, he is out to party today. Look how many he's got in his hand.
That is a cranky hand if I've ever seen one. But here is the play that I have been stressing so many times to you, Alias. This is all this Sultai deck wants to be doing, is Nissa, untap one of your powerful forests that can add black or blue, and have some way to interact with the Goblin decks. And right now, Seth has his pick of the options right now. You can either untap that Overgrown Tomb, use Eliminate, or you can untap that Breeding Pool and have Essence Scatter available. So you gotta like Seth's chances here to move on to the next round so far.
It's looking good. I'm thinking he's going to go for that Essence Scatter because there's no 3 CMC or less cards in hand, barring that Chieftain, which isn't really a big threat as is. You know,
and you can Essence Scatter it if you really want it.
You could Essence Scatter it, but let that resolve, eliminate that. That's fine. And then Krenko, save the scatter for that, perhaps.
And I mean, imagine right now we have 6 mana. So if Ken were to top deck Muxus, Seth is covering that basis as well. Yeah. Because we have seen Ken top deck Muxus, and if Seth didn't play around it, he was going to be in a lot of trouble.
Yeah, so I like the Essence Scatter here. Let's deal with one problem in a good old Krenko Mob Boss. And then follow up potentially here with the Skirk Prospector from Ken Yukuhiro's side. Not going towards the Planeswalker here, just saying, okay, face the place. Nissa is a bit of a pain in the butt to get down. Let me try and kill you before you run away with it.
Yeah, whenever I'm controlling a Nissa who shakes the world, if they attack it for 5 or whatever and it's at 6, I am just like, okay, you got it. I'm going to make my good blocks that I essentially get to eat creatures. Otherwise, Nissa at 1 versus Nissa at 6 is very, very little difference. Yeah.
Yeah, there's not much difference. If she's still on the battlefield, you have failed and you've let your opponent untap, and now you're still in much trouble. So I like Ken's play there, just chipping away at that life total, hoping to find a Muxus off the top that goes unanswered, and swinging in for lethal with a bunch of little goblins.
Yep, exactly. And right now, Ken does not have a lot of time, but one good thing for Ken here is the shields from Seth are down. We have an eliminate to kill a chieftain or something, but the shields are down if Ken does top deck that Muxus.
Oh, this is so gross. Hey, Nissa, would you like another Nissa? Sure, I'm just going to hit you for 9 here, Ken. Don't mind me. It's all good.
Just an embarrassment of riches at that point. Be like, I got this spare Nissa, I guess I'll just throw away.
In for 9 go these lands. Down to 8 goes Ken, who needs to find something meaningful as soon as possible. As Thoughtseize is now going to just dispatch of something else in hand. Another Krenko sees the Chieftain and the Skirk Prospector. Man, what do you take here? Does any of it matter at this point? I mean, inevitability is so far with Seth at this point, unless there's a Muxus.
Yeah, I think you take that Skirk Prospector, because that is like the one way where everything could just kind of get out of hand. You know, if you draw Muxus as well and then need to cast your Krank or something, like none of the options are great here for Ken, but that's the only one that I can kind of think maybe something could get out of hand. But for Ken here, that was the turn where we needed Muxus. Yeah. And now sorry.
I love the sequencing from Ken.
Agreed. And now you just see, because this means that Kranko will get an activation no matter what. So yeah, this is huge. But now we do not have mana to act or to cast Muxus if there was one off the top.
I think Ken has given up on Muxus showing up to the party and is going to rely here on Krenko Mob Boss. Can generate 3 creature tokens, 3 goblin tokens.
Yeah.
And I mean, at this point, you got to think he's got to go on the defensive, right? Against these lands.
Definitely. But here's the interesting kind of staring match we're going to get into. You want to eliminate with Kranko on the stack because then you get 1 less goblin. But you also want to eliminate at Ken's end step if you're Seth. But we'll just see how they sequence this one. I'm guessing Seth just stays as patient as possible and waits for Ken to act here. But we'll see how this goes.
This is a bit of a staring match. I love it. Lands versus goblins. Who's going to win?
Yeah, I thought lands were, the spells in the next set, but lands are being lethal here as well. I like it.
Into Land Harbor off the top here. Another Nissa in hand for Seth if he really wants to get this Planeswalker going.
But here it doesn't actually represent another creature because Seth does not have 5 mana that is not land. So here I don't like really casting one, except maybe second main phase.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
This is where you really hope that Ken Yukuhiro hasn't snuck in a Storm's Wrath or something, right? Because that would be real bad. Left to 2 lands, oof.
Yeah, no kidding. Maybe a little bit worse for Ken because I think that's not allowed, but...
No, for sure. Of course not. I'm just saying. Good thing that goblins don't typically play wraths. As we're going to see here, a big ol' swing-in that Ken is going to have to deal with from these 4/3/3s.
And I love the patience here from Seth because here's what's going to happen. If Ken just wants to go to blocks and saying, hey, I can block with Kranko, it's a 4/4, you got 3/3s, then you're just like, okay, sure, no problem. After damage, then kill Goblin Chieftain, then you lose Kranko as well. So I think Ken is just priced in to having to activate it now, but now Seth gets to eliminate the Chieftain, and all of a sudden we have 4 total power on Ken's side versus 4 3/3s. So it's going to be quite tough here.
Yeah, not looking super good here for Ken Yukuhiro, the sole lone goblin player left in our top 8 as eliminate on the stack. Gonna get rid of that Chieftain. Prevent the extra goblin being created from Krenko Mob Boss. So just 2 little knuckleheads and a Goblin Ringleader that now have to deal with this battlefield.
And I love the little mind games here. Did you notice that tapping of the islands from Seth?
Mm-hmm.
He knows he didn't have a blue spell, but Ken doesn't know that. He wants to maybe represent like Aether Gust or something. Be like, you know what? I got options here. Oh, okay, never mind. He's just going to cast Nissa anyways.
Hey, you never know. It could have been Aether Gust.
Could have just been a misclick too, and I'm reading into nothing. But hey, I still like I like myself a good mind game every once in a while.
Oh, for sure. As we see Nissa number 3 hit the battlefield. Look at Ken's face. He's like, what? How even? How even is right. There's the Muxus again showing up so late, not able to get this down.
Wow, Muxus has not been Ken's best friend this top 8. What, just every single time. The one time Ken cast Muxus in the top 8, it whiffed. And now 2 separate times, Seth has either prevented Ken from casting Muxus, or Ken has made a judgment call of a play that has allowed him to not be able to cast Muxus. So really just unfortunate all angles you look at it.
And I don't see very many outs here for Ken, because we're just gonna get another creature attacking next turn. We can get a second Krenko mob boss down. So we've got 4 blockers, but we're gonna have 6 attackers.
Yeah, this is it. That's game right here. Seth has to click that beautiful attack all button. And just is taking a peek at Muxus as well. Why not?
Yeah, why not? Oh man, that's so brutal. Here we go. Every single land on the battlefield now swinging in for lethal. And Seth Manfield is gonna take this game in a clean 2-0 against Ken Yukuhiro. GG.
GG, and I just got to point out that game 1, limiting Ken Yukuhiro from being able to cast Muxus, that was some really next level play, and just props to Seth Manfield.